Alright, for this video we'll be taking a look at Stuck in the Same Rut. And before we get into the arrangement, I thought we could listen to just a sample of the original recording I did last year. So here is a bit of Stuck in the Same Rut.
But I already know when I'm going to die, and where my body will be found, and who will and who won't be around. And I already know who will corrode me, thanks to my body's weight in peyote. Back in the saddle, I'm drugs and booze addled, waiting for my real life to begin. Stuck in the same rut again.
Probably the most obvious arrangement would be just add some drums with some brushes and have a upright bass playing, root and fifth of every chord. When I listen to the song, I really kind of hear that even though those instruments aren't there, because I feel like that arrangement is implied. For a lot of these arrangements, I will probably lean into the implied arrangement. But for this one, I thought it'd be fun to kick things off by changing everything up. So here's a somewhat different version of Stuck in the Same Rut.
When I was young, the old man said to me words that were burned in my mind. Try not to step on anything if you ever go back in time. But into the future you're fine. So I made my way into the future, armed with toothbrush, grenades, and some suture. Caught up with old friends still hanging out, pissing into the wind. Stuck in the same rut again. No one should know too much about their destiny. Wise words from Emmett Brown. But I already know when I'm going to die, and where my body will be found, and who will and who won't be around. And I already know who will corrode me, thanks to my body's weight in peyote. Back in the saddle, I'm drugs and booze addled, waiting for my real life to begin. Stuck in the same rut again. After 40 years of acting like an asshole, I'm ready to keep acting like an asshole. I'm just a rover, the world passes over like some sort of never has been. Stuck in the same rut again. Stuck in the same rut.
So I had a number of goals kind of rolling around in my head when I was approaching this arrangement. Arrangements can come in many shapes and sizes. At one end of the spectrum, you might just take the song in its original version, sprinkle in a little bit of seasoning, call it arranged, and you're done. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a very minimalistic approach, just to highlight what was already there, what's already good about the song. At the other end of that spectrum is I want to boil the song down to the smallest possible core that is the identity of the song, and then build up wholly new things around that same core. And so then the question is, how much of the song has to remain to call it the same song? Because the essence of the original song has been lost. I don't think there's a definitive answer to that, but for me, I find that it's the melody and the lyrics. Within the realm of pop music, pretty much always going to have melody, you're pretty much always going to have lyrics. With that as your core, technically everything else is kind of up for grabs in terms of decision making on your arrangement. So that was the core I was trying to preserve. Another thing that I knew I wanted to do early on was to establish multiple feels. When you listen to the original recording, I established this strumming pattern and feel for the song pretty much at the very beginning, and it virtually goes unchanged all the way to the end. The other goal I had, and this is a goal that I always have for arranging, is to engage the listener. The original recording of the song is a great example because it's really rather boring. It, like I said, it establishes this rhythm at the very beginning of the song, and then it just does this one thing throughout. And the chord progression is incredibly predictable. The melody does not go many places. The only thing that is arguably interesting about the song are the lyrics, and I'll leave that to you to decide how interesting that really is. So I was trying to kind of find a new atmosphere for the song to live in. And early on I was playing around with different kind of feels, different musical styles, and I discovered pretty early that the song worked very well in 3/4. But I didn't really want to do the whole song in 3/4 because I find that I don't have nearly as many tricks up my sleeve for changing things up in 3/4 as I do in 4/4, which is like the most common time signature. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself and make that more difficult by sticking to 3/4. So I continued to explore some options in 4/4, and I found what kind of became the verse of the song, and that was all working pretty well. But the hook of the song, very specifically the line "stuck in the same rut again," just was not working. And so I thought about, well, let's mix what I like about this with the 3/4 that worked over the entire song, and then that would be now a new opportunity for me to change things up because I'm changing the meter. And that mostly worked, and I was mostly satisfied with it. But I realized that I was kind of getting too far into the song by the time the first hook happens to change the time signature and only do it for a very brief period of time. That can be kind of jarring. I found it to be kind of jarring. So I decided to sort of foreshadow that effect by introducing the song with the 3/4 time. But instead of singing the lyric, the melody is played on the guitar. The other thing that's going on in this arrangement to kind of keep the listeners on their toes, there are a couple points where the instrumentation will kind of drop out. So very early on, going into the verse, all of the instruments drop out completely and there's just a piano. And then the first line of the verse is sung just with a piano. Then the rest of the band comes in, back to just a piano. I think that lets the arrangement breathe a little bit better. So I've probably gone on enough about this arrangement. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Until next time, take care.